all this, like, all the bullshit in life and just sort of detaching yourself from it, which some people might think is unhealthy, but, and just kind of, like, looking at it and just, like, isn't this fucking funny if you think about it? I was just reading this book right now that a friend let me borrow called The Greatest Salesman in the World. You ever hear of that?
No,
It's like one of these like old self-help books that I think it was first published in like 1968 or something. And they had a really great chapter. It's kind of told in like a story form, but it's like they had a really great chapter that was talking about like, it's like, I will laugh at the world. And you ever hear this phrase like, this too shall pass?
Yeah.
Which I've heard before, but I never really but he talks about it in that, and like the idea being that like, it's like, why are you going to get like so emotional, upset over all this shit when it's like, all is going to be gone anyway? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, man, and I don't know if I've got some kind of sickness, but I feel like I kind of go through life being like, hey man, we're all going to fucking die anyway. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But in my mind, not like a bad way, just kind of like, I mean, so isn't this kind of funny?
Just like live it, man. Surf it or whatever.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of going on a tangent, but my point is that, like, it's hard for me to understand some, Joey's basically one of those guys. It's like, he's cool, man. He you could talk about anything. He can laugh about anything, and that's really what, like, my favorite kind of comedians are to hang out with, like, or people.
Yeah.
Like, people are just like, hey, man, you want to hear some thoughts I have that you're really not supposed to talk about, but, I mean, don't you kind of have these thoughts? And, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thought to have. It's just, that's my thought,
See, I'm just like, I'm a sick fuck too, man. I'm just, but you know what? I feel like I surround myself, like all my friends are good people, but they're hilarious people. Like, they're just as sick as me, but they inspire me to be that much more sicker, I guess you could say. And I don't know. I love being able to laugh and being able to be made laugh over anything. So I can't stand any person or crowd who gets offended by words, because I don't know. That's what comedy is, man. But I respect clean comedians too, because if you listen to comics like Brian Regan, who's squeaky clean but just hilarious. Mm-hmm. I get jealous when I hear like Brian and think, well, shit, that is so funny, but I couldn't have done that. I would have threw a dick in there somewhere or something. I mean. Oh yeah,
I also like all kinds of comedy, whether it's similar to what I do or not. So I just love comedy of all kinds. I just like what makes me laugh, which could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like liberating to be able to speak to people openly and not be judged for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, I don't personally attach any sort of like, this is a good thought or a bad thought. This is just a thought. You know what I mean? In fact, I don't even think there is any such thing as good or bad, except if you decide there is. Now we're getting some kind of philosophical conversation. But what was I going to say? I can't remember. But
way to drop the point home.
But to me, like, that's sort of the journey of at least what I feel like I do on stage, which is like, it's like, how can I express these ideas I have in an accessible and palatable way that people will go with me? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like, can we talk about me again?
Oh, of course.
You just got me thinking about this, but like, I feel like for me, for a lot of the growth and the process for me has been like, it's like I think my jokes have gotten better, my writing has gotten better and all that other shit, but I think it's generally been more or less like a similar theme. More or less, not exactly, but more or less like a similar theme. But where I've improved is finding ways to talk about this where it's okay to talk about it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Whereas before, I might have not had a problem with it, but I maybe was not as skilled in communicating it in a way that people would be like okay with it. You know what I mean? So like, I can understand why someone would get offended by stuff if you're not pulling it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, like I'm actually just thinking about this because I was thinking about Louis C.K. recently, where I got a text from a friend of mine yesterday saying that he was listening to Opie and Anthony. You know Opie and Anthony?
Oh yeah,
Opie
yeah.
Okay, so and I guess according to his text, he said that they were like talking about like what's the origin of like the word nigger. I feel so weird doing this online. Let's talk. and apparently Louis C.K. was like, was I think some black guy was just being a nigger. And I was like, first of all, just sending me that text was just like, I was absolutely fucking laughing my ass off. And then I texted him back, and I'm like, man, like, it's so both awesome and amazing that a guy who has a TV show can say something like that and not get in trouble. Although, who knows, if this happened last night, maybe he's maybe he's getting in trouble as we're having this conversation, but something tells me he's not. And the reason I think would be is because he's a guy who's like, he's able to like express just like the worst fucking thoughts and the worst bullshit in a way that's not gonna like upset people. Like, you know, he's able to pull it off, you know what I mean? And that's to me what makes him in part like such a like great comedian.
Oh, he's one of the best, man.
You know what I mean? So like, you know, there might be other comedians who might say something like that too, or express other bullshit, but like they're not able to pull it off. You know what I mean? And I feel like I might even be one of them. You know what I mean? Like in the sense that like that's part of my growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like expressing shit that maybe a year ago it's like, I don't know about that, but maybe this year I've got a little bit better and I've kind of figured out how to be on stage in a way that's like, oh, okay, I see. You know, it's like you get it under people's radar and it becomes okay.
Well, I was watching. It's funny you bring up. I was watching his special. What is it? Chewed Up. It's either Chewed or Chewed Up. It's his last special. It was on demand the other night, and I caught it and watched it. And it's so good. And like what you're saying, he has a bit in there. You know his bit about the word faggot.
Yeah.
Where he talks about he's seen a guy sucking a dick, and you know, it's not even about calling the guy or that guy being homosexual. He's just being a faggot or whatever. Just everything he does is like that. He pushes the envelope, but I don't think anybody could listen to it and hate it, which I'm sure there are people who do, but I don't see how they can because it's so well written, well performed, and I don't know.
He's just so...
He points out the stupidity in it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I almost kind of hate this term, but he's just so... I realize I've been doing this a lot in the interview, which is probably really fucking faggoty. But he's just so likable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is.
Like, and